It's early Saturday morning, and I'm on the CSX Sanford sub in Jacksonville at the first of four movable bridges between Jacksonville and Sanford, McGirt's Creek. This Scherzer rolling lift drawbridge still sees at least 9 trains a day, far from its old days on the Atlantic coastline when the bridge was double tracked. I'm at the bridge waiting for Amtrak 53, the southbound auto train, and so is his boater. He's out for an early morning on the Ortega River. It's a quiet, mild, overcast morning with a day ahead full of promise. Shortly after arriving, we hear the distant horn of an Amtrak P40.
Clear, First Creek, 537.
Sailing at a cool 45 miles an hour across their bridge, it takes no time for the train to cross. They're a few hours away from their terminus in Sanford. Once the train's cleared, we see this old railroad veteran get to work to allow the boater to enjoy his morning.
There's 650.
And just like that, the bridge is up until the next train later this morning. Moving up into the Moncrief area, we find our way over to McQuaid Street. Sitting at McQuaid was NS64Q, an ethanol train bound for the FEC and eventually Motiva at Port Everglades. Now, McQuaid Street isn't the best area to hang around in. I'm a big guy at 6'4", and I'm not even keen on being there. Unfortunately, as I was wanting to turn around, the train got clearance to cross onto the Beaver Street interlocking and over to FAC, so I decided to take my chances. wasn't much else this Saturday morning, so I head out to Baldwin where I hear the Florida Gulf and Atlantic on the radio. I end up finding them in the siding at West Baldwin about to head west, so that leads us to the small Florida town of McClenny. This is old Seaboard Airline Railroad, now the former CSX Tallahassee subdivision from Tallahassee to Jacksonville. Just days before, the area was slammed by Hurricane Idalia, so while not looking great, the line looked better than I expected it to. Now, I haven't seen FGAR in a while. Short lines here don't really run on weekends when I'm available, so this was pretty nice to see.
Dr. Pepper and 2 Snicker bars. Alright, does Ivan want anything? Yeah, he getting one of them Snicker bars. Oh, okay, alright. Just the plain old kind, or you want what? They got all kinds of Snicker flavors now. Just a regular old Snicker bar.
Well, this was a nice surprise. Since the last time I've seen them, the Florida Gulf and Atlantic has acquired 4 ex-Florida East Coast Railway SD70M-2s for use. These SD70s were removed from FEC sometime after 2016, when FEC took possession of ES44C4 locomotives, and then these went around to being leased by Norfolk Southern for a time. After Norfolk Southern, they were sitting in storage and purchased by the FGAR. The FGAR has gone and repainted the old Rail America red, white, and blue into their own paint scheme now, keeping these Florida natives as close to what their original dress was. The FGAR had about 97 cars, I think that's what they said, from CSX, and they continued on to Lake City. We went back to CSX and wound up at Callahan on the A-line at the old reliable schoolhouse crossing. The train coming to us is a familiar one. It's the old M455, now M457, bound for Orlando. This train is slowing down to 30 miles an hour to take the right-hand turn at Callahan to head to Baldwin. For decades, this train ran straight to Moncrief down the Nahana sub, then to Sanford and Taft via Palatka on the Sanford sub. As of last year, CSX decided for some reason it was more efficient to run it in a roundabout way to Orlando via Baldwin and Wildwood on the S-line. This train used to make it to Taft around 11 p.m. every night, maybe a little earlier, but now generally doesn't make it to Taft until the following morning. The M457 carries various traffic for the Orlando area for both CSX and the Florida Central Railroad. Now we move back into Jacksonville where we hear IO-32 having engine trouble. Something was wrong with the lead motor, so it was decided to have Moncrief pull an engine from the shop to tack onto the front. We moved to Old Kings Road to find a surprise being shuffled around in the attic. Now that we know what IL-32 is going to have, we move up the A line to downtown Hilliard, and no sooner do we get there do we see the gates start flashing and a southbound coming.
End of transmission.
IO-25 is the highest priority freight train into Florida, seconded only by IO-26. This train has it all. Loaded auto racks full of Teslas bound for Orlando, Central Florida, and South Florida. This train will get broken up into blocks, some for FEC, some for Winter Haven, and some for Jacksonville proper. This train is also notably at least two trains combined, IO-25 and the former IO-27, both originating in Chicago. Of note is the amount of Amazon Prime on this train now. A couple years ago you wouldn't see this, but now it's full. No doubt going to Winter Haven for the huge hub in Lakeland. Right as IO-25's marker starts over the hill in the distance, from around the train we see a headlight appear. It's IO-32's turn now at Hilliard, and he's letting the horses run, trying to make up for lost time in Jacksonville. Renumbered CSX in 1973, this locomotive features the classic colors of the chassis system, which have not been used by the company since it merged with Seaboard Coastline Industries in 1980. Chassis was created in 1973 as a result of the merger between the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway, the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad, and the Western Maryland Railway. This paint scheme is loved by many and memorable by the adorable sleeping cat on the logo. The chassis has a rich story of its own, with chassis having its own family. It's prime time, stack time now at Hilliard, and south comes aisle 37 right after 32 clears. We're not quite done with stack trains just yet. We move back down to Jacksonville to White House siding to get I-145 Duval to Tampa because it's set to have yet another fancy looking locomotive on the front. Numbered CSX 1869 in honor of the year the C&O was formed in Virginia from several smaller railroads, this locomotive has a paint scheme inspired by the 1960s era C&O locomotive. The C&O Railway was a major line among North American freight and passenger railroads for nearly a century before becoming part of its chassis system in 1972 and eventually merging into the modern-day CSX. In 1970, the C&O included more than 5,000 route miles of track stretching from Newport News, Virginia to Chicago and the Great Lakes. And that brings us to the end of our video. If you like this video, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe if you like what you see. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.